Welcome to goRIA. If it's Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern time, you know it's time for our live stream. And as you can see, we have with us a very special guest, Joel Bruckenstein. Joel, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And needless to say, Joel's here because we're going to talk about T3, which I'm sure you all know, but Joel's going to tell us about that, a little bit more in just a moment. But T3 is going to be one of about a handful of conferences that I'm going to have the pleasure of attending and broadcasting live from this year. It's going to be T3. I'll also be at FPA National. Looks like I'll be at Future Proof, the Nitrogen, all the big hits. But we're kicking off 2024 with the one and only T3, which means we're talking with Joel today. And I could not be more pleased to have you joining us. So, Joel, we only have about 5 or 10 minutes. And the idea of these weekly live streams every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern time is for me to give the audience a bit of a taste of what's going on and what's current with goRIA. And of course, I'll be in Las Vegas with you next week for the T3 conference. For the very few people that are not terribly familiar with T3, what's the story? What's it all about?
Sure, it's technology tools for today. And 20 years ago, we identified a need in the marketplace. There really wasn't a discrete conference just for RIAs and wealth tech. And obviously, at that time, tech was in its infancy. But we felt that advisors weren't being well served by the general purpose conferences. Maybe there would be 1 or 2 sessions on tech. They weren't always the best. And so we decided to specialize and help advisors get familiar with tech. And now it's become the place to go to learn about technology, to learn about the latest innovations. And also it's where you go to shop for technology.
Absolutely. So that really makes it particularly pertinent for our audience, right? So our audience are advisors that are still at a broker-dealer, but looking to make that move to the RIA space, which is something I did myself about 5 years ago. And one of the things that I found challenging is, and this is sort of the good news, bad news, and they're both the same. There's a ton of technology out there to choose from. And the expression I hear all the time, and I would have used it myself 5 years ago, when it comes to evaluating technology for the RIA space, is that it's like drinking from a fire hose. There's just so much information. How do you structure T3 to help advisors like in our audience that are looking to shop for their technology? How do you help them parse through all the different choices and help them make a better choice for themselves?
Well, first of all, I would say it's not necessarily drinking through a fire hose if you've been in the independent space for years, but if you're coming from a broker-dealer, it is.
Yeah.
Because typically when you're a broker-dealer, the only information you get is what the broker-dealer wants you to get. And most people are happy with that, and they don't spend a lot of time looking outside of, their immediate ecosystem. It is a very vibrant ecosystem. And yes, if you're looking to make the transition to goRIA, it is drinking through a fire hose. So there's a couple of things we do. First of all, in conjunction with Inside Information, every year at the conference, we release the latest edition of the T3 Inside Information Technology Survey. This year, we have over 800 firms covered in that survey. And so it covers, more than 50 subject matter areas, everything from CRM to portfolio management to, whether you should be using Zoom or Teams or whatever for video conferencing. And so there's a wealth of information at that session, and then anybody can get the printed copy of the PDF. That's totally free because we have it sponsored. We have 3-4 full days of sessions about every kind of technology you can imagine. If RIAs use it, we're covering it, including custodial technology.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition, we have a very vibrant exhibit hall. We have roughly 100 exhibitors. Anybody that sells technology to RIAs is represented there. And what's beautiful about the exhibit hall is, let's say you're looking for CRM. Right in one space, you can compare side to side all the major competitors or anybody you're thinking about using, ask them questions. And the other thing we've encouraged for the past 20 years is for these firms, the technology firms, not just to send their salespeople, but to send developers and to send their chief officers, whether it's a vice president, president, what have you, mm-hmm. and so that they're getting direct feedback. It's also an excellent opportunity for advisors to have feedback into the product roadmap of the goods and services that they actually use.
I could see that being hugely valuable. This will be my first time at T3. And I tell you what, looking back 5 years ago when I went independent, I never thought to go. And I think that was a mistake. And I've talked about this pretty openly. So our first year at Sovereign, I completely flubbed our tech stack, completely flubbed it. And worth noting, it's not that I picked bad technology, because the technology that we ended up dropping was not bad, but it was bad for us. It was just not a good
Right.
fit. And that, I think, is such an important point, because there's so many great CRMs, account management software systems out there, but they're not going to be great for everyone. And I honestly believe this, to have the opportunity to speak with all of them in one day or 2 days or over the 4 days, have them all in one spot, it at least helps you go from 5 choices maybe down to 2. And that's
Right.
helpful. And then you take those 2 offline later on in that week or the month, and you could do your deep dives. But that's such a great opportunity. And I can see why you guys have been around for 20 years. All right, so that's good. So I think everyone has a pretty good sense. Maybe some closing thoughts you have for our audience, Joel.
Well, obviously, there's been so much talk, for example, about AI over the past year. I've been to a lot of those sessions, and quite frankly, to my mind, a lot of them have been lacking. I think you're going to get some really good information on how to use AI, what's available today, and what's coming down the pike at the conference. Every year, our survey shows that not enough independent advisors spend enough time thinking about cybersecurity. It's not the sexiest topic,
That's
but it's
right.
perhaps the most important topic. And I think we make it very digestible in plain English. We got some of the best cyber experts in the industry coming. We have the CEOs from a lot of the tech companies. We have a lot of leading advisors are there. So there's tremendous opportunities to network with your peers, the peers who have already done some of the due diligence and made some of the mistakes, and
Yes.
listen to what they've learned. And I agree with you. There's a lot of good applications, but everything is use case specific, right? Just because something's good for your firm, it doesn't mean it's good for the firm that you're talking to or the next firm. So you really need to understand what your situation is, what your ecosystem is, and also not just think about where you are today, like Gretzky said, not where the puck is, but where it's going. We want to help you try and visualize what's your vision for your firm 3 years from now, and make sure you have the technology to support that, because your technology today may support you today, but it may not be flexible enough to support you in the future.
That's right. And integrations. I'm sure your panelists will talk a lot about integrations and the
All the
importance thereof.
time.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it for 20 years. And again, that's part of your point about making bad decisions. If you don't understand who integrates well with who, you could get great CRM and great financial planning software, and they may never talk to each other, and that puts you at a disadvantage. So
Right.
obviously there's a lot of questions to ask. And again, at T3, you can learn the right questions to ask.
Yep. No, for sure. And that was actually our problem. Like, our systems were fine, but they just didn't play well together in the sandbox. And that was a huge problem. So that probably seems like a good place to end for today. And just remind the audience, if you would, Joel, what are the dates of this conference again? I know it's coming up soon.
It's January 22nd through 25th at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas. You can go online and register right now at t3conferences.com.
Sounds good. And you were generous enough to offer our audience a $200 discount. So when you go there, the promo code is T3 goRIA 200. Be sure to put that in and you'll get a $200 discount. And when you're out there, swing by the goRIA podcast mobile recording unit, which is basically me with a microphone, and swing by. And if you've got a great RIA story, I would love to get you on. So Joel, thanks for joining us and sharing some thoughts with us today.
Thank you, Chuck.
You bet. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And on behalf of goRIA, fueled by investment news, I'm Chuck Vela, and I'll be broadcasting this live in a couple of weeks from T3. Look for that there. You'll see it pushed out to you via the investment news social media channels. See you then. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.